Hey everyone, just wanted to do a video on the graphing project that we're doing in class this time, and we're titling that kind of mathematical forgeries, right? Or the Pre-Calc 1 Desmos art project. And I just wanted to go over the rubric that we're going to use to get a grade on this at the end and show you some student examples, kind of talk about that and different things associated with issues that may come up. So the first thing in the rubric you'll see is the project management. That is basically that you turned everything in on time, right? So you're going to need a link to the Desmos site with a picture for the first submission. As long as you meet all those criteria, which is in a different document, kind of lists the criteria that you need for those. But as long as you turn that in by the due date, right, you'll get full points for that. Second submission is 10 functions, right? Third submission has your folders organized, and you're also going to provide feedback on somebody else's project. And then the fourth one, the final submission with project completed. So as long as you meet all those on time, those are kind of 5 points each, and you'll get 20 points. So that's mostly just time management issues, right? You're not turning stuff in really late, and you are getting the work done in the timeline that you're supposed to get it done. The next one is organization. So folders need to be organized so that you can identify all the different pieces. So I have here an example of a student one. We'll look at some other ones also in a second. Kind of go through these criteria as well, but I'll just use this one to kind of highlight some of these as we describe them. So this one has, right, folders for shading, right, and then different elements of the pictures like the neck, tongue, head, face, ears, main body, and then there's different types of equations is something that we'll get to when we talk about function variety. So shading, right, this is also something we'll kind of talk about at the end, but these other ones, the neck and tongue, right, if I hide that, right, you can see there's the neck and tongue. The lines disappear, the head and face, right, those lines disappear. So you can kind of see, right, main body, each of those elements, right, disappear when you see them. And you can see if you click the arrow, all the equations that got used, right, for doing those. So this is, sort of what I expect, right? It's just different pieces, right? Even if you wanted to split up main body into, right, left legs, right legs, or stuff like that. Just use something that makes sense to you, but also makes sense to other people, right? So ears, right, I can see all those, but when I hide them, right, I should see kind of all those lines disappear. The function variety, this is the students use transformations of a variety of functions, so I don't want you just using tiny little lines over the whole thing. You are supposed to use a variety of functions, and under this different types of equations folder, this is where I should see, right, all of these guys. So, and they've got text labels underneath, so a couple hyperbola ones, right? And when I click it, it should appear right somewhere over here. So I can see that red one, right, is right there for that guy. A couple logs, right? So there's a log equation. Somewhere there's a piece up here I can see, and then there's another piece. It's down here, right? So I used a log for that part. So so all these different pieces, basically you're just going to copy stuff you've already used, kind of paste them in. These are better if they're a little bit bolder. So rather than trying to hunt for the line, if you change the settings and make this, instead of a 2.5 thickness, maybe like a 5 thickness, then it shows up a lot better. Bright colors sometimes will show up better also. So just keep in mind, depending on your picture, right? You may want to make these pretty visible. That way, when people are checking them, they're like, oh, yeah, I can see that one. I can see that one. And makes it a lot easier if they're a little bit bolder and don't blend in that well. Okay, so the next part is really the majority of points, right? Half the points are in this category. Function, accuracy, and aesthetics. So this is, right, all the equations accurately model, right? Um, all your areas, I would say this is pretty good, right? The lines seem to cover all the lines that were in the original, right? So the original, if I take out pieces, right, it looks like those lines actually do cover those pieces. Um, so that's pretty good. The different elements connect smoothly and use appropriate colors. These are somewhat smooth, although there's a few areas where maybe it's not as smooth as it could be, right? This is kind of choppy instead of smooth, right? There's a few places where you can tell, like on the tongue, that's several different segments and not like a continuous line. So overall, I would say this one is pretty good, although maybe not full points for that part. Student uses domain and range restrictions for limitations. We'll see one where that doesn't happen, but this one is pretty good, right? There's no like lines going way out into no man's land that shouldn't be there. So everything's restricted like it should be. And then a major cohesive portion of the picture is completed. That is also done. So this would get, if, you know, maybe not 50, but pretty close to 50. There are some maybe choppy elements, but definitely high 40s for this type of thing. Shading, you have to shade at least two different elements, and that's for I believe it shows over here off the screen, 5 points, right, for two areas shaded. They shaded many more than two areas, so even though the shading is, kind of weird in places, I hide it. We see there's some gaps here and there. But overall, right, there's a lot of it has been shaded in. So certainly met that criteria. I'd say that's probably, we could even give that a 10 out of 10 for this one. So high points on this one. This would definitely be a high A for this project. I have several others that we'll go through and kind of talk about these different things. Again, project management, that's just whether you submitted stuff on time, so we'll skip that one. Just talk about these other four. And I'll also mention number 3 here on the project management is basically going to be providing feedback to somebody else on these 4 areas so they can see, oh, here's like what I think, where you can improve. What's already doing what you're doing really well at already, that sort of stuff. So let's go and take a look at a couple more examples. This one we got Snoopy, right, being a DJ. This one again, organization is really good. Have all the different parts, right, and the different types listed underneath, right? So exponential, shading is not really a category of function, but they're shading in their linear ovals. That should be ellipses, circles, and quadratics. So, and then logs, rational. So there's definitely at least 5, right, that are in there. So that one is good. At least 25 equations used, right? This is kind of the minimum to get 5 points for the function variety. So there's a lot of different types. There's a lot of different equations, right? If I go through and look, then it's even helpful if you say how many equations are in each category. But you could definitely go through and say, yeah, there's a lot of functions being used. So well done on the function variety. Accuracy and aesthetics. Accuracy is really good. So even though some of these elements, like down here by the arms, right, this is maybe one place where some liberties were taken, right? As if I hide the arms and hands, I can see that's maybe not exactly how it looked originally, but it's somewhat close. The ear, right, is off. So that part's off, but overall, most of the picture is pretty accurate. So I would say that one, maybe not, again, full points for this one, but pretty high. Everything looks really smooth on this one. All the pictures completed and appropriate restrictions on the elements. So this one, definitely high marks in that category. And then the shading, right, there are 2 elements shaded. Really, that's about it, right? It's just these couple of circles in here, so maybe a couple of circles down here. So that would be maybe not a full 10, but certainly, higher than a 5. So maybe you're looking at like 6 or 7, 8-ish range for that, because there are several elements like the nose, headphones, knobs, collar, right? All those are shaded. Um, so that would be okay. But like I said, maybe not a full 10, but definitely high points on the shading. Wouldn't be just a minimum of the 2. All right, let's go and take a look at this one. So this is one that's not really a cartoon. This is more of a drawing. Got the forget-me-not flower. And if I hide the flower, right, we can kind of see the part that's shaded there in the middle with the yellow and the brown. This one, again, organization is pretty good. You can see the different types listed under here, right? So function variety is also good. And for this one, right, we have basically all the elements are pretty accurate. So I'd say accuracy on this one very high, right? Almost everything is smooth and goes just the way the picture looks in the background. Domain and range restrictions good. Cohesive portion, right? The whole flower's done. So including all these funky petals in the middle, so that is also really good. Shading, right? There's if you look in the right yellow center, right? This is all the kind of shading, right? And the brown, right, outer ones. So all of these, I think if you expand this out a little bit, have inequalities, right? Some of these you can tell where the shading was located and stuff. So shading's pretty good on this one. Definitely all that yellow and the brown meets that criteria. So would have been nice if some of the petals maybe, but you don't always have time to do the entire picture. That's a tall order. So we'll talk about shading more and different things that you can do in other videos, but shading should also get high marks on this one. So all those 3 that I've shown you are definitely A's. This is an A, I would say, work, A work, A work for all of those. We'll start getting into some that are maybe not quite A work. I'm not always going to give like point numbers for all these, but we'll kind of talk about some shortcomings that you might see, especially as you go through, right? This is important feedback that you might want to give somebody else kind of at that midway point through the project. So this is a character from the Ed, and Eddie show. And I'll go ahead and hide it. You can see, right, there's some of the functions, but definitely not the entire picture, right? So there's definitely some piece missing, like top of the head, also kind of the bottom of the jacket, the stripes in the jacket, that sort of stuff. So the organization still looks pretty good. The different types are listed right underneath. So we got some conics, line, parabola, logs, exponential, all those listed. Usually you'll make those texts rather than just typing it, so you don't get the warning, but that's okay. So organization, it's okay. Function variety, right, also okay. It had the 5, so at least the 5 minimum points. If not, for you could go through and check, right, to see if maybe there's a few more in there, but at least the 5 different types are there, so at least the 5 minimum points. You might could go a little higher with some of those if you want. All of the folders, right, are also good at locating different elements. The accuracy, right, the pieces that are there are pretty accurate, right? So this part that goes down the jacket, right, the edge of the jacket, the edge of the face, most of those do look pretty accurate, right, when you take the picture away. So that's pretty good. The colors, I think these are just the default Desmos colors that popped up, right? So I would say appropriate colors, maybe not so much. The elements do connect, I think, where they're supposed to connect. Domain and range restrictions are okay. Cohesive part of the picture completed, sort of, right? So this I would say probably is not going to get full marks just because of the coloring, right? Is all over the place, and the cohesive part, right? There's kind of the middle, but right there's a lot of the head that's missing on that. So maybe not full, definitely not full marks on that, but maybe down in the 40s or something like that, um, or 30s. Shading, right? There's just these two elements shaded, so you could get the 5 out of 10 for that, but not a lot of other shading going on. So overall, I'd say this is probably somewhere in the B range, right, for this type of thing. You have a lot of accurate, right, lines and graphs, but the coloring's a little weird. Not a lot of shading, so yeah, so I would say solid B for something like this. Next one here, right, we got King Bob, right, minion. It's going on, and if I hide it, right, so some of these lines, I would say going through, again, kind of these categories over here. Organization, there are folders, but there are a lot of these: mouth, eyes, right, hands, feet, legs, arms, pockets. So all those are pretty good, right? So if I do the hands, right, should see hands disappear. There's kind of a weird line out here in no man's land, but feet, right, should see feet disappear. So I'd say organization is pretty good, right? If I get rid of the eyes, some of the eyes disappear, some are still there. So might have to do with these different equations, right? Different equations, if I click that, elements shouldn't disappear. They should just overlap stuff that's already there. So there's a little weird stuff going on with the organization. Function variety, right? If we look at the different types of equations, we got lines, ellipses, roots, circles, and then I'm missing kind of the fifth one. So really this one should have a 0 for function variety, unless you can go back and find two examples of other types somewhere in these folders. So you'd have to go through these folders and find some other types for that. And really you should have a minimum, right, of those 5 different types that are located. So this really needs like those elements re-highlighted, right? Are there logs anywhere? Are there exponentials anywhere? Are there anything that wasn't included in those 4? So that one kind of needs like a redo on that part. At least maybe not a complete redo, but some stuff added, right? Function accuracy and aesthetics. So I would say this again is not going to get full marks. This is all equations accurately model, right? So it's pretty close, right? So some of these though are quite a bit off, like this, circle goes way up too high there and way down too low, not quite low enough right down here. The eye, everything's just slightly off, right? It's not exactly on. You can definitely tell there's a separation of lines of what was supposed to be there versus what is the new line. So everything in this one just a little bit off. The fingers, right? If I hide the picture, these are just kind of, circle, ellipse, blob fingers that are on there, not what the shape actually was. So again, just, the accuracy is not quite there. Appropriate colors, yeah, all the lines should be black, so the black lines is fine. Domain and range restrictions, I'd say, are okay, right? I don't see anything going way off weird. Everything ends almost where it's supposed to, if not, just because the accuracy is a little bit off on some of them. And then a major cohesive portion of the picture is completed. That part is true. So overall, this one's okay, right? Just it's mainly the accuracy that's and the smoothness that's throwing me off for this one. So that I would say is not quite up to par. So overall, there is no shading, right? So if I hide this, no shading at all. So that's 10 points kind of gone. Function variety was also pretty low. And then the accuracy is bringing down that kind of accuracy and aesthetics mark. So overall, I would say this is probably maybe a C range, just because most of it's there, but it's pretty jagged, and the shading was completely ignored. And the function variety is also very low. So probably C range for this one. Last one we'll talk about, the Mickey right here. And with this one, right, kind of go through again. So I'm looking at, again, the folders, right, organization. And on this one, unfortunately, when I start looking through all the folders, right, kind of hide these, there's just a lot of stuff. So organization on this one, I would say, is not super great, right? So we got arms, face, stomach, other, right? You shouldn't really have a folder called just other, legs. And then some of these that should be in the different types folder are just kind of listed polynomial, quadratic. We got arms and face again, where I think we had arms and face up here. So organization on this one definitely has some to be desired. So that would be kind of a low score on that one. Function variety, right? Again, right? I need the different, we should have a different types kind of listed down here at the bottom so that we can easily tell what the types are. But those are kind of listed all over the face. So we got two folders called linear. There's a cubic, quadratic. So I think there are some, all right, there's a couple polynomials, there's a couple quadratics, but they're just so hard to find that it's, you really have to dig to see if they have all 5 of the different types, right, for this guy. So, so that's the importance of organization, right? So grading that function variety makes it easier on your grader. The function accuracy and aesthetics. This is again a part where if we hide the picture, right, it's hard to tell, right? You might could tell this is Mickey, right? Just if you're familiar with Mickey, right, you could tell this is probably starting to take that sort of shape. But it wouldn't be super clear to somebody unfamiliar with the character, right? That's who that would be. So there's also some weird places like this red line right here that's kind of going way off his face. This arm that's kind of going way into his chest. So there are some definite places where they might be accurate for the part they should be accurate, but they are not using the domain and range restrictions correctly, right? So the domain and range are not in place. The ears are kind of off, right, on those. So they're almost there, not quite. So the accuracy is not super good. Most of these are smooth or somewhat smooth, so that part's okay. But I'd say overall the accuracy and aesthetics, not great. The coloring is also way off, right? Everything is just kind of a different color. The eyes are shaded green and purple rather than, white. The buttons have different shading. So, and then all the lines are just random colors. So again, I think that's just whatever the default was that Desmos had, kind of came up with that. Tail, I would say tail's okay, right? Slightly off, but not super off. So this one, again, is not going to be a super high value, right? So function accuracy and aesthetics, there's just a lot of problems going on in here. And then this last bullet point, major cohesive portion of the picture is completed. Again, that one is not great, right? There's a lot of elements, there's a lot of lines kind of here, there, everywhere, but there's not like a head that I can recognize, or the body is probably the most I can recognize, but even that is not super completed. So I would say if you have a picture like this that you're wanting to do, start with like maybe just the head, right? Try to do all of the head, right? Before going on to some of the other pieces, right? So get all of the head done, and then maybe try the arms and the hands, and then try the body, or start from your feet, work your way up, that sort of thing. So it's fine if you have a picture that you're not going to do the whole thing, as long as that's kind of your plan from the beginning. So I would say if your plan was, I'm just going to do the head, arms and body. I'm not going to worry about the legs, feet, and tail, right? That's okay. Um, but you just want to plan that ahead of time, right? Otherwise, if you skip around, jump around, you're not going to have a good looking picture at the end. So overall for this one, right, depending on the project management, if everything was turned in on time, I would say this is maybe a D, but if things were late, maybe even down into the F range, just depending on how the project management went. So there are definitely a lot of the pieces that we're looking for, but um, it's just not very cohesive. There is very limited shading, right? There's a few things shaded, just these kind of four ellipses right here, which are the easiest things to shade. Um, and all the main hit's going to be function, accuracy, and aesthetics and organization, right? Those are a couple big hits to this one, which would bring the points down. So hopefully that helps guide you as you're going through your own project. I know this is kind of long, but just wanted to make sure that you do have kind of a full picture of how things can go well, how things can go bad as you're going through this. So my advice is start early, do maybe one piece, try to do one piece every day with some lines, or if your goal is right at the end of the week, I'm going to do 5 to 10 pieces, right? That's fine too. But just try to get some done, if not every day, at least every week. I would say work on 5, 6, 7 pieces, right, at a time, each week as you go. That way you're not trying to cram a whole bunch of stuff in all at once by the due dates. So anyway, that'll do it for the project demonstration, and hope you guys have a good one. Again, we'll just kind of end on this note, right? Or even the Odie, right? These are flower, right? These are definitely the A projects. Hopefully what you're aiming for. All right. There'll be lots of videos going over all the different ways of helping you out come up with the equations, but those will be done in other videos. So we'll see you on the next one.